The mining industry has been fueling Zambia's economic growth since independence to present day. Large-scale mining has been taking place for over 100 years and is expected to continue over a number of years.
So the Center for Trade Policy and Development has been working with like-minded civil society organizations to champion improved utilization of revenue that comes from mining communities. This came from a realization that in most of these mining communities, the local people tend not to benefit from the minerals that they are endowed with. And if you look at Zambia happens to be a country that has been mining for over 100 years now. And in over 100 years, the country has actually had serious challenges in terms of getting meaningful benefits from the extractives sector. So in the case of Zambia, you might be interested to note that there was actually a provision in the Mines and Minerals Act of 2008. And that provision was actually very explicit. It was actually giving a directive that the minister in charge of mines will work closely with the minister in charge of finance to ensure that part of the revenues that are collected from mining investment is returned to the communities so that they can get to deal with the negative externalities that come with mining. And one of the things that we observed from the work we're doing in the civil society is that during the process of reviewing the 2008 Mines and Minerals Act, that provision was taken out and it wasn't clearly explained in terms of the factors behind the removal of that provision, and that didn't sit in very well with most of us from the civil society. And from that time we have been advocating the reinstatement of a provision that explicitly provides for how local communities can benefit from the mineral resources that they are endowed with.
Stakeholders have questioned the benefit of mining after privatization because most ordinary people in resource-rich areas are living in abject poverty, yet their land is blessed with valuable natural resources. It is now called the New Copper Belt. For example, Kansanshi Mine in SOLWEZI district is currently the largest single taxpayer in the country. Kansanshi is also the largest employer in SOLWEZI and the only mine in the district. But when did mining start in this area?
So serious mining in Northwestern Province started in 2006. That's when Kansanshi mine started. And then we saw Kalumbila also coming, Lumwana first also coming in. And thereafter, then now we have also Kalumbila Minerals Limited. We have almost all the minerals that you want to talk about. All the minerals, they are in Northwestern Province. When you look at the cadastre map of Zambia, you find that the entire province, there are licenses, either exploration small, large, and mining small or large, and the whole province is covered. Even where we are here, someone may just come and say, I have a license, I want to start mining, things like that. That's why now we have the gold in Mwinilunga, the famous Kasenseli gold, ZCCMIH, they are now the ones who are mining and taking care of all those things.
The council has committed to plow back 10% of the total revenues they collect from the mines in form of tax back to the community in SOLWEZI. This commitment did not come as an initiative by the council, but as a concerted effort by several civil society organizations in SOLWEZI involved in the extractive industry. With the support from Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD, and Oxfam.
SOLWEZI being a mining town, we felt that it was important that the communities, more especially those who are closer to the mines, that they benefit from the mining activities. It was noted and known that the communities around the mine were the most affected due to the mining, the impacts which come with the mine itself. So as a way of giving back, although you cannot really give back in full, but at least it was important that the communities around the mine get to benefit from what comes out of the mine. Yes.
Civil society in Zambia, led by CTPD, have been advocating for the implementation of the Mineral Revenue Sharing Mechanism, MRSM, to promote sustainable development in mine host communities. CTPD has been implementing a project aimed at enhancing community benefit from mining investment in 4 districts. The 4 mining communities under the spotlight are Mufulira, Sinazongwe, Solwezi, and Zambezi. Solwezi has achieved what other mining communities dream of by passing a bylaw that facilitates sharing of revenues with mines host communities. On a yearly basis, the Solwezi Municipal Council, through the Ward Development Fund, plow back 10% of the total revenues collected through taxes back to the communities. This money is not remitted directly to the local authority.
Well, the idea started with when we noticed the Kansanshi mine is basically our biggest ratepayer in the district. And when we looked at the monies that they were paying to the council, we did realize that in order for us to implement some of the projects, we entered into some agreement with them where we asked them to retain part of the rates. Before the revision of the evaluation law, the mine used to pay about 26 million kwacha annually to the council in form of rates. So what the council then decided through a council resolution was that we get 10+% as the money which the mining company would retain. So instead of them paying us 26 million kwacha, they would pay something like maybe 20 million kwacha, and then they retain the 6 million, which then we would ask them to do some projects. The councillors were very determined to ensure that we apply part of the money from the mines towards the actual projects than the money just going into personal emoluments and maybe doing very, very small projects which do not create any impact on the community. So with that realization, we engaged the mine to see if they could agree. Fortunately, Kansanshi mine has got a roads department, so they were also happy with our proposal. So that is when the proposal was taken to council, and council formulated a resolution. Now, what we do is with that resolution, the standing resolution, every year that comes when we are doing the budgeting, we ask the councillors to identify which roads we could do. And then the engineering department goes to look at the roads together with the mining company. And then we agree. But what we also do is every year we do sign a memorandum of understanding for that particular year. Like for this year, we have done an MOU with the mines that you will retain the 8.5 million and then you do specific roads. And we do this so that even when the Auditor General come, we'll be able to say, no, the mine did not pay the full bill. This is the money which they retained, and they retained it on the basis of this memorandum of understanding, and this money which they retained has translated into these works, which is basically service delivery to the community.
And this money has been key in putting up infrastructure across the district. Without it, the Solwezi Municipal Council would have been struggling to provide social amenities to residents.
We have implemented so far quite a number of roads, about 10 kilometers since it was implemented in 2018. Yeah. But it's not just roads. We did community centers, boreholes. We drilled some boreholes in SOLWEZI, just around the district. We still are continuing with the implementation. Yeah, we plan to, especially for this year, we plan to do roads also as a continuation, because it's something which should continue and not just end at a certain stage. So we are planning to do about 4 to 5 kilometers of roads, because there's about 8.5 million just to roads, which is being very. But for the 10%, it's not just the 8.5. So there's other projects which will still come. Yeah, but for the roads, it's basically, I think it's just easier because the mines have got the roads division, which handles roads and the fully fledged, and it well, they can do the roads from the start to finish, instead of going to other contractors. It's easier to just do it with the mines. As our role is, we have to be project managers. We are project managers actually, so we have to ensure that there's obvious value for the money that is being retained. Yes. So at each stage, from the onset, from the implementation, from the like you decide, okay, there's this road which has to be done. So from the surveying, quantifying, and the actual implementation has to be done by the engineering department. So we are basically the project managers for the roads. Yeah.
Residents who live in Kimisala Township, where one of the community halls has been constructed, appreciate the gesture.
Yemi kwako ya rondoro kakine kafwako ne. Amba kujikime kima kutwajinga na indaba. Twayikere pone twakonko twambirepo mukuwamba ine at least taiko maana nango mutumi kwako tucheche. Kukiramba mtu alenga madeski mu masukuru, mabuku ketsa kukwashane. At least tumarodi tucheche mwitu kwasha kono we bamaini ne bamambo wa mugodiwe. Inge wapwatu ketu katana mbona ngwa benefit ne teba nowe.
Despite its success, there are also critics who think the mineral revenue sharing mechanism is not working well at all. Kabwela is a rural community with over 50 villages, and it is the least developed community with no roads, no clean water, no hospital, and only has one school with 3 classrooms. The community surrounds Kansanshi mine, and residents have not yet felt the benefits of the 10% MRSM.
We are the hosting community to the mines, and we are not benefiting from the mines. So we decided to form this group to help us communicate with the other parties, other stakeholders. And fortunately enough, other organizations came in to work with us, to train us in some areas. Namely, like YARD is a local organization, and then the CTPD came in strongly. They really trained us and opened up our eyes and thinkings, how to deal with the mines.
When the mine was established, this community suffered displacement, and most residents have not yet been compensated.
We do not get as much as we would have loved, because we've been displaced, and people there are living, but now we are not getting much benefits. For instance, the mines is just very close to us. We do not have any electricity at all. And the boreholes, they are just about 5 boreholes. Against the population there, you find that water is not always available. And every time when the water is used up, we start getting muddy water. because of the population.
The call for the mineral revenue sharing mechanism to reach all corners of Solwezi has come at a good time, just when the mines have finalized the valuation roll process. The mine has increased the threshold beyond the 10%, which was initially offered by the mine.
Say for instance, this year, they were supposed to pay 63 million. So what we have told them is to return 8.5 million. So meaning that they will only be able to pay us about 55 million. So that 8.5 million, what we'll do is we'll sit down with them that the projects that we want you to do are maybe this road, this road, this road, and then we will cost. We will not just end up giving them that money. We will cost and ensure that really the money is equivalent to the works that they will be able to do. So that is the whole mechanism, and it's a very good way of dealing with things. Like I have said, if the money comes into the council, it will just be like Control 99, to get it out becomes difficult.
Despite having the mineral revenue sharing mechanism, there is need for civil society to continue monitoring its implementation to ensure it's implemented to the latter.
Once these funds are released, as Ward Development Committee, together with their councillors and other group leaders who are in that community, they need to sit together with the help of the councils to see to it that which project can we prioritize with these funds which have come in. So I think that is the missing link. Yes, there's need for all the group leaders, the councils, all the different stakeholders in that particular community to come together and see to it which project needs priority for the funds which have been released.
With this success story in Solwezi, the Center for Trade Policy and Development is using this as an example to promote sustainable development in other mining communities across the country. Over the years, the organization has organized exchange visits for civil society, civic leaders, and traditional leaders to learn from their Solwezi counterparts.
From the local authorities, we've now tried to create an interface between the community and the local authorities so that they can start a dialogue and get to agree in terms of how best they can manage affairs related to mining. And one of the things that we attempted to also do is to expose the local authorities to what is happening in other districts, and in that way we also hope that there could be exchange of information, so we could get representatives from a local authority like in Sinazongwe, take them to Solwezi so that they can learn more in terms of what Solwezi is doing, how they managed to get a bylaw, and to what extent can they replicate a similar approach in their jurisdiction, but more so to allow them to identify some of the loopholes and challenges that Solwezi might have had in the implementation of the bylaw, so that they do it differently and better.
In Mufulira, mining has been going on for over 100 years. This border town, located on the copper belt, has a copper mine which has been a lifeline for the district.
A mine in Mufulira has been there for a longer period. I'm sure it should be 100 years and before. Of course, the mining company has been operated with various kind of stakeholders. In inception, it was being led by RCM, and then later it was grabbed and taken to ZCCM, and ZCCM also again it was privatized to a private mining company which came from Switzerland called Glencore, as at the moment which was called Mopani.
For over 100 years, Mufulira has been a reliable source of copper, but its benefit to the locals does not match the profits which Mopani copper mines makes.
So even the general populace of Mufulira, they're expectant and they're also hopeful that they should get what is due to them, because it is not always about having employed so many people working in the mines, because you can imagine it is not only the people of Mufulira who are employed in this mine. Others come from far-flying areas. But in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of sporting discipline, even in terms of education and the health sector, we expect the mine to contribute in a way and supplement on government's effort, because the government does so much, but equally from the private sector, particularly from the mine, we expect at least to get something for the betterment of the community.
In 2017, with the help of the Center for Trade Policy and Development, civil society organizations in Mufulira petitioned the local authority to pass a bylaw that facilitates for a mineral revenue sharing mechanism.
There was a drafting of a document, a position paper, which was shared with the Minister of Mines. After sharing that document, we went now back to the community to advocate and ensure that the people understand what we are talking about. After which, we made sure that we mobilized the community, especially the people from Kankoyo, as well as from other parts of Mufulira, for them to understand what is this mineral sharing mechanism we are talking about, and as well as the Mufulira Municipal Council. Mufulira Municipal Council, through his worship the mayor by then, Gift Chapamushinge, Doctor, appreciated the document and understood very well the route we were taking, and we made sure that people understood the document and they wanted the document. Amongst them, we had the group we were calling Natural Resource Watch Committee. This Natural Resource Watch Committee was established. After being established, we propagated these issues on radio, including Radio Chengelo, as well as Mufulira Mafken Radio, and we went into the community to educate and ensure that people understood the concept.
Yeah, actually with the help of Center for Trade and Policy Development, CTPD, they actually facilitated that support. So we, as Civil Society Coalition, under the Mufulira NGO Forum, we usually come together and offer solidarity. Yeah, so we have NGOs that are actually like-minded civil society in tax justice, as well as the issues of environment. Also, we talk about mining. So, because our core mandate is to ensure that communities that are around the mining areas, they benefit. So we have been doing a lot of activities surrounding issues to do with environment, pollution, and how do people benefit? It is through the revenues that come from the mines. And you know, if we talk about central government, of course they distribute monies evenly through the budgets. But we are saying there should be something that should come back to the district where mining is done.
Mining pollution is a big problem in Mufulira. The community of Kankoyo is the worst hit, and for several years now, NGOs have been leading the fight against the indiscriminate release of toxic fumes in the air.
So these issues of pollution has continued. Though Mopani had been claiming that they are capturing 97% of the sulfur dioxide, but it's not documented. And we've always been asking for proof, if at all they can provide any documentation to support that, but then it hasn't been happening. So to us, it's a non-starter, and what they are claiming is not happening. So the pollution continues from time to time. People have been affected here and there. In Kankoyo, houses have cracked. We've got houses that are halfway collapsed, others are completely collapsed. Some houses in 2014 were provided with tents by the DMMU, but up to now, they are still residing those tents, and most of them are ironed out. So it's a big challenge, and we keep on fighting. One day, you know, challenge takes long to occur, but one day we'll definitely make it.
Of course, our advocacy from 2009 to date has been one, to talk about how to do with the pollution, especially in Kankoyo. The land looks like it's in a desert. You can't grow anything. If you go there this time, you attest to say what is happening is the same pollution is still taking place.
Another aspect of Mufulira, which has been hard hit due to lack of adequate sponsorship by the mines, is football. Mufulira Wanderers Football Club, which is popularly known as Mighty, which is sponsored by Mopani Copper Mines, has been relegated from the Super League to the second-tier league, the National Championship. It is one of the most celebrated clubs in Zambia, which has won the National League several times. The club, which has produced the likes of Kalusha Walia, is now struggling to stay afloat, angering Mufulira residents.
The poor sponsorship to Mufulira Mighty Wanderers has brought a challenge even in our football system in our country, because 90% of the players that were participated into the national team were coming from Mufulira Mighty Wanderers. I'll tell you the other side is that Mufulira Blackpool has gone, because they don't have sponsors. The little resources that were coming to Blackpool is no longer there. We are at pain as Mufulira dwellers. We are at pain.
Another mining community which is struggling to benefit from its mineral wealth is the lakeside district of Sinazongwe in Southern Province. Sinazongwe is the largest producer of coal in the country, and currently it has 2 mines and one more is set to open in the coming months.
Sinazongwe district is sitting on the coal mineral. And as at present, we have 3 mining doing that activity. We have the Koram coal mine here, which is just in Kandabwe ward. We have the Mamba Couriers in Mamba. Then we have a new mine called Siziki in Kayone, that is in Siameja ward. Now, from the time these mines started mining in the district, I'll start with the Mamba Couriers because they are the first to come in the district. We have been trying to engage them several times when we have maybe a challenge as local authority, and most of the time they attend to us. Where corporate social responsibility is concerned, whenever we engage them, they don't hesitate, but instead they come on board and help. But I have a challenge with the Koram coal mine, because with them you can try to engage them, but they cannot respond positively as the expectations from the people. Now the only challenge again, the same mine is not paying the land rate because they don't sit on the title deed. They don't have the title deed. As a result, we also lose out as a local authority because we don't collect anything from them. Then on the new mine, Sizik, because it has been in the district now for almost a year, they are still settling, but you can see that they have the heart for the people, because like the last season, we had a lot of challenges on the road, but they were coming on board to help the community, mending where the damages were happening. And so far, they have already employed workers, which means my community at the same time they are benefiting.
Despite the rich mineral deposits, this community is still poor and access roads are in a deplorable state. Community leaders say they are not benefiting from the coal, which is mined here.
Coming to the villages surrounding the mines, I don't see much benefit given to them. The very good land which they were depending on much was taken away from them by the mines. And the employment, yes, they were given simple employment as the casual workers at the time the mines were being opened. But their services are no longer required. So only professionals are benefiting, at least. Even those professionals, some of them are from the University of Zambia. They are not well paid. Some of them were sponsored to India, and when they came back, engineers, they resigned and went back to the Copper Belt and Lusaka because of poor conditions of service and bad salaries. In short, I would say the villagers have benefited very little from the mines.
Mbuli ma villagers na twambe kuti mbuli ikuti babereka iyi ibubo tumbo bajana nkobuli kambo inga kumamani na mwezi kulinche balangira ino ma villagers iba kuti aba bali kupone na mu kulima kwache chino chindinga ndamba kuti vuvo tumbo vajana mbushonto kutoverenya kuti myunda yakanyonyoka kwakajanika kuti kuliko onya ivuvo tumbo vakajana vakayakirwa manda icho nchivotu kambo muntu kuti kachisi chinhule ngatuhamba kuti nchivotu vakayakirwa manda ino myunda viyo chechintu chivapeheta luvono kwakuvika luvono.
With this situation, civil society organizations have stepped in to sensitize the residents of their rights and privileges. Like in other mining communities, natural resource watch groups are leading the way.
It's very hard to engage with other stakeholders, especially the mines. So we've had Indavas before, we've had the district alternative Indava, and we've never had representation from the mines. Even when you try to call them, they don't come. So even when you are trying to make follow-ups on certain issues that is in connection with the communities and the resource watch, the mines will not give you access to the mine. Yeah. And the other challenges we have is with the council. There was a time we were tracking the revenues from the mines to the council. Of course, in 2015, we managed to do that, and there was another CS by then. So we took some questionnaires from CTPD, and of course, we went there with CTPD. We took some questionnaires there, the group was introduced, we even signed a memorandum of understanding between the council and the Natural Resource Watch group. So from that time, we were given feedback. We took actually 2 forms. One which was for expenditure monitoring. We wanted to know how the council spends the money that it gets from the mines, if it really goes back to the communities. And we did find out that most of the things that were even written in those questionnaires, the answers, they were not even true, because we made some follow-ups to see if the things that were said were really happening. But most of the things the information that we were given was just coming from without.
On their part, mining firms in Sinazongwe have been doing some community projects. Some bridges and schools have been built, but still more. Stakeholders feel they can do even more.
If the government can come up with a very good policy whereby even the social corporate responsibility can be mandatory, not the way of maybe the sympathy. I can just call it maybe it's a sympathy of the contractor. If that one can come out in a very straightforward manner whereby each investor is mandated to do something on social corporate responsibility. If it means annually, at least one project should be done. That's the only way we can improve. Then on the 10% royalty, that one is also one of the things which maybe we should also consider, because as at now it is very silent. You go to this investor, you try to engage him, you explain, but he will not understand it because it's like it's not law. So it's a bit of challenge to overcome that one.
Then even in terms of things like displacements and relocations, these people can really have a strong voice on their land, and then they can get better share in terms of being relocated. For the time being, you find that they are usually at the mercies of the mines. Whenever they are relocated, it's the mines which decides on what they are supposed to be given. So at the end of the day, you find that our people in the district will end up being perpetual poor people because of the issue whereby they are not able to bargain on their own. Now, if we can strengthen a certain system like the consultative forum, this can help them to make sure that at least they can get a better deal for whatever land they possess. Then in addition to that, we wanted to find that to take them maybe to another level to make sure that at least their land ownership rights can be strengthened, so that from there now whoever comes to invest in their area should be able to talk to them at that level. For the time being, yes, they are the owners of the land, but they are not sure whether they own this land. Anytime an investor comes in, he just gives whatever dictates he wants so that they can move out, and then once they move out, they don't even know where they are supposed to go. But if at all their land rights are strengthened so that they are aware, they can now engage in terms of a discussion to make sure that at least a better deal, a win-win situation is achieved at the end of the day.
But in areas like Sikalonzo, this bridge across the Siebi stream was washed away over 5 years ago, and this has left the district's only airport and a school cut off from town. This is where the community feels the mining firms should come in.
The bridge in Sikalonzo, they had a footbridge in 2019, but it was washed away the same year in 2019. So since then, they've been struggling. They've tried to lobby for the bridge to be put that side, the footbridge, but nothing has been done yet. They've tried to engage the council, tried to engage the councillors, but nothing has been done yet. So that stream, when it gets full during rain season, it means there is no school for children, because there is a school called Airport Community School. And the same stream, along the same stream, there is a road that leads to the airport, the mighty airport in Mamba, where the president lands when he comes to Mamba. And since there is no footbridge, it means that when it's rain season and the stream is full, no one goes to school. There are children on the other side of Sikalonzo that have to cross from Sikalonzo to Mayanda Community School. And there are also children that go to Airport Community School that come from the township, and they have to cross going to Mamba Airport Community School. But because the stream is full, they cannot cross, the teachers cannot cross. So that means there is no education when it's rain season. And the number of pass rates decreases at Airport Community School.
With all these hardships in communities around mines in Solwezi, Mufulira and Sinazongwe are going through, residents of Zambezi district in the northwestern province are learning and hoping for the best. In Nyakulenga area, a new mine is about to open, and this is expected to be done in early 2022. CTPD, in partnership with other civil societies such as Save the Environment and People Agency, SEPA, have hit the ground, sensitizing the communities in Nyakulenga to ensure that the district does not face the same challenges faced by other districts with active mining activities. Interestingly, two unique groups of Zambezi residents have sprung up to prepare the district for mining. The Champions, a volunteer group of men and women, as well as the Natural Resources Watch Group, are in the forefront, helping residents not to be misled by investors.
We've heard of mines, to be specific, maybe Solwezi. We've heard of how the Kansanshi are plowing back to the community. So in terms of construction of schools, in terms of construction of hospitals, so we feel if the mines came to Zambezi, that same thing was going to happen, so that the people around here benefit. We are striving to prepare people's minds so that as such things start coming, people will be abreast with the new information so that they are not exploited and they are ready to welcome the mines.
One of the aims of the group is to sensitize the people, the community especially, in relation to what is expected of them and what they also expect of those investors that are coming into their district. So they should know, they should have their expectations, and when this happens, how do they react? To some extent, that is our job. We tell them that when these investors come, there are certain things that are obviously going to take place. Issues such as maybe displacements, issues such as pollution, issues of population growth suddenly, and then those may seem to be negative, but there are also positive parts that come with the investors.
The non-governmental organization, SEPA, has been training champions and the Natural Resource Watch Group to take a lead in preparing communities for the mines.
So we have transferred this information to the groups that we have trained, which are called Natural Resource and Champions. That these people can be able to interrogate things. They can be able to speak for themselves. This is not the time where SEPA should speak on behalf of the people, but empower the people with information. So we have done that. And I was very happy when the consultant for Fleka Mine that is going to start in January 2022 came. They went to Nyakulenga. When they went there, they met these communities. And they told us that we were surprised. Are these villagers? At the question they were asking us, what will happen if you displace us? What about our clean water? What about our clean air? What will happen? What is the benefit? Then they said, we don't know where those people got the information. The information was gotten from SEPA. We went to empower them with information so that they can speak on their behalf.
Nyakulenga is a remote community in Zambezi whose road network is bad. Civil society is of the view that traditional authorities get more benefits from their mineral resource.
We have been calling for chiefdom shares. Chieftainess Nyakulenga, for example, and her people, not herself as a person, but the chiefdom itself, Nyakulenga chiefdom, should have shares in the mine. Okay? Look, they say that there are 4 factors of production. There is the capital, there is labor, there is entrepreneurship, and there is land, which is the biggest factor of production. So you are going to do mining on land. Which land is the land that belongs to Chieftainess Nyakulenga? So already that is her biggest contribution. Okay? So you contribute land and then you can agree to say, we are going to get 20% as a chiefdom from all the profits that they make. Don't give us any corporate social responsibility. From that 20%, we are going to plan on what we want to do in Nyakulenga in terms of roads, hospitals, schools, and all those things and stuff like that.
In the end, the mineral revenue sharing mechanism is the only hope Zambians have if they are to benefit from minerals mined in their backyards. This is because the current system, where money from the mines goes to central government, does not promote sustainable development in communities directly affected by mining.
Our final appeal from the Center for Trade Policy and Development is that this is a brilliant initiative. It's an initiative that seeks to enhance benefits for local communities, and to actualize it, we actually need to come up with legislation that speaks to how we want to manage our resources now and in the future. And from legislation, let's work towards addressing some of the bottlenecks that were identified when we initially tried to implement this mechanism. Issues around how communities can access the money, issues around accountability, because there has also been mistrust in terms of local authorities' capacity and ability to manage such resources.
For as long as minerals are mined across Zambia, the need for host communities to benefit from them will continue being pushed by those who feel the effects of mining. Despite the host communities not having a large voice to push for change, civil society such as CTPD are stepping in to offer capacity building and platforms for voicing out. This is with the view that one day, mine host communities will have greater say and reap more benefits from their God-given mineral resource.